We are live. Before we begin, I will go over the emergency response plan for this room. In an emergency, everyone must evacuate through the nearest safe exit. Those seated in the gallery take direction from security to evacuate. Council takes direction from the meeting clerk. After evacuating the room, please proceed to a stairwell. Take the stairs to ground level and evacuate the building through the doors marked emergency exit and go to a muster point. Do not take an elevator or walk through the city room. Anyone with limited mobility should identify themselves to security or the meeting clerk during an evacuation. Finally, please speak with security or the meeting clerk if you require first aid. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that we meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory, as well as Métis homeland, and acknowledge the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Nakota Sioux, as well as Métis and Inuit, now settlers from around the world. Roll call of council colleagues. Councillor Salvador.
Good morning.
Councillor Hamilton.
Good morning.
Councillor Jans. Councillor Wright is here in the chamber.
Good morning.
Councillor Jans. And we are also joined by Councillor Stevenson.
Good morning.
And Councillor Paquette.
Sir, I'm here. Councillor Jans is here.
Councillor Jans is there. Councillor Paquette.
Good morning.
Councillor Knack.
Good morning.
Okay, I'll go down the list. Councillor Rice.
Good morning.
Councillor Tang.
Good morning.
That is it for now. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I'll move adoption of the May 3rd Executive Committee meeting agenda.
Okay, thank you. Please vote.
Waiting on one vote.
Sorry, I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Approval of the minutes. Councillor Salvador, you want to do that?
Yep, I'll move approval of the minutes from the April 10th, 2024 Executive Committee meeting and the April 16th, 2024 Executive Committee non-regular meeting.
Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Protocol items. All right. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome some students who are visiting us from St. Vladimir grade 3 and 4. And they are here with their teacher, Samantha Harvey. And the ward is Testawiniwak. And Councillor Principe is your ward councillor. I don't think Councillor Principe is joining us today. She is not part of this committee. So it's optional for council members who are not part of the committee to join, right? She might be tied up with other constituency work or ward-related work that she's doing. So welcome. It's nice to see you all. Are you here for the whole day or just part of the day? Who are you? Are you doing any mock council? You did. Who was the mayor? Come on, mayor. Mayor, come up to the podium. Mayor Jacob. Come on, don't be shy. Oh, you had 2 sessions?
Yes.
So you had two mayors?
2 mayors, yep.
I don't think that will happen in real life, but
No, we're pretty lucky. We get to split the class in half so that they get more chances to speak into your microphones
right
and
on.
sit in your chairs.
Okay, Mayor Jacob and
Hannah,
Tana?
Hannah,
Tana, okay, Tana. Hannah, tell us what you were talking about.
what was your issue? Or what was your debate about? Should we build the? Okay, say it.
Yeah, come to the mic so everyone can listen to you, hear you.
Should the LRT come to St. Vladimir School?
That was the.
Wow.
And what was the result?
Yeah.
Did you vote?
What
Was
did you
it
do?
carried
Oh, so
or
the
defeated?
okay. What did you decide then?
Say it. Say defeated.
Defeated.
It was.
Oh.
Yeah, they decided no LRT to St. Vladimir.
I think they understand the financial challenges that we're facing. Right? So,
There you go. Because it's not for lack of loving riding the LRT. Who has asked me every single day if we're going on the LRT again? Yep, there you go. Yep, we've been on 3 times now.
so Jacob, what was your topic of discussion? Same?
Is it the same? What was your issue? What did you talk about? Do you want me to say it for you, or do you want to try?
Jacob can do that.
You want to try?
Come on, you can do it.
Should we allow adult bicycles on sidewalks?
Oh. What did you decide then?
Yes.
Yes.
Carried it. They
Well, I think we're going to be talking about this issue in a couple of months when the public spaces bylaw comes to us, because there's one proposal actually to consider some flexibility for adults to ride their bikes on sidewalks, because we don't have, not everywhere in the city we have dedicated cycling infrastructure available for the safety of some people, so sometimes it's okay maybe to ride their bike on sidewalks. So we'll have that discussion in a couple of months.
Well, now you know some experts you can call. And
Yes.
ask them what research they've done about
Well, you know what? It will be a public hearing.
that.
You
can
can
come back.
you can actually sign up to speak to us, and you will have 5 minutes to do so. We will encourage all of you to do that. Okay? And it'll be break from school. That's the bonus, right? Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us. And I also have another protocol item. I would like to take the opportunity today to recognize Red Dress Day on May 5th. This day serves to honor the many missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and 2 SLGBTQIA+ peoples across Canada. Studies indicate that individuals from these groups are killed at a rate almost 7 times higher when compared to non-Indigenous individuals. This is a harrowing statistic, and it is a critical reminder that urgent action is needed. Red Dress Day aims to spur that action. It was inspired by Métis artist Jamie Black's Red Dress project in 2010. The project spoke to the racialized nature of violent crimes against Indigenous women and girls with empty red dresses as powerful symbols. Since then, Red Dress Day has continued to raise awareness and educate on the movement across Canada. Each dress represents a story, a daughter, a sister, a person whose life was cut short by violence. However, this day is not just about mourning. It is a reminder to take action. It is about standing in solidarity with the Indigenous communities, advocating for justice, equality, and healing. In November 2022, the City of Edmonton Council approved the MMIWG2 S+ Municipal Action Plan. This plan focuses on how the city has made commitments to advance the cause for justice. Since then, Municipal Action Plan has guided council and administration across the corporation and continues to inform our actions. This year, a Red Dress Day event will be held at Churchill Square and Beaver Hills House Park. Please join me and my council colleagues this Sunday as we walk alongside community members and honor those who have been lost. Although our city has made significant progress in advancing reconciliation and combating racism, we know there is much more work to be done. I encourage all Edmontonians to do their part to help raise awareness and show their support for victims of violence. Together, we can create a safer and more equitable region. Thank you, and if you can come, please do join us on Sunday. With that, we are going to go into selecting items we want to discuss today. All right, who would like to sign up to select items? Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, thank you. So I see that we have a request to speak for 7.1, so I will select 7.1.
7.1. And I will select 7.2 and 7.3. Anyone wants to select 9.1 or no? I see none. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Wright, you want to move the balance?
So moved.
Thank you. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Can you please read back to us what we have already approved?
Thank you, Mayor. This morning, committee has passed the recommendation and the following report without debate. Item 9.1, confidential settlement.
Okay. Request to speak. Councillor Salvador, you have the list, right?
Yes, I do. I'll move that executive committee hear from the following speakers in panels when appropriate. For 7.1, the Citadel Theatre lease approval, Jennifer Addison, Citadel Theatre in person, Jesse Van Rye, the Citadel Theatre in person, Alan Nursel, the Citadel Theatre in person, Daryl Cloran, Citadel Theatre in person, and Paul Johnson in person.
Okay. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Request for specific time on the agenda, none. Councillor inquiries? None. Report to be dealt with at a different meeting, none. Request to reschedule reports, none. And unfinished business, none. Now we go to our public reports. So the first item on the agenda to be discussed is the Citadel Theatre lease approval, which requires council approval from this committee if committee recommends to council. With that, we'll go to administration to make a presentation, and after that, we will go to speakers. Is someone from Citadel is going to be part of the delegation as well? No.
Part of the delegation, but they are here to, they've registered as speakers, so you'll be able to ask questions of the Citadel at that time.
Okay, so if there are we'll try to ask as many questions as we can, but if there are questions that when we come back to you that may be relevant for Citadel to answer, would you be able to include them as part of delegation?
Yeah, if that's helpful,
Okay.
we can do that.
Good. There might be some question that's
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right, go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning, Mayor Sohi and members of Executive Committee. I am Bartosz Jiraki, the branch manager of the real estate team, and I'm joined today by Carolyn Bull, our acting director of property transactions, and also Carl Argo, the city's lawyer on this file. We are also joined today by a number of individuals across the organization to help answer any questions that may come up through this conversation. So administration is here today recommending that Executive Committee approve a new long-term lease with the Citadel Theatre. Next slide, please. The Citadel is an important facility that is located within the Arts District and has for many decades brought people to Edmonton's downtown core. The facility was built by the Citadel over multiple phases and has been operated and maintained by them since opening in 1976. To pave the way for the construction, the city, who owns the underlying land, entered into 2 ground leases with the Citadel. With the existing agreements due to expire at the end of September 2024, administration and the Citadel have worked collaboratively for over a year towards the recommended lease agreement before committee today. Next slide, please. With the existing leases approaching expiration and the understanding that upon expiry of the leases, the facility reverts to the city's ownership, administration has negotiated a new lease which has revised responsibilities based on requests both from the Citadel and to also realign towards each organization's strengths. As with any negotiation, there are benefits and drawbacks to both parties, but ultimately the new agreement will help to ensure that the facility continues to be a major amenity for years to come. The proposed agreement is in alignment with the TELUS World of Science lease, another significant city facility. However, in this situation, administration has ensured that the Citadel is providing an annual contribution towards capital renewal work. This annual contribution will be implemented by the Citadel through a ticket fee. The total amount generated by the ticket fee, which will be provided to the city, is anticipated to vary year to year, but based on previous attendance, it could generate roughly around $200,000 per annum, with a minimum contribution of $100,000 per year. The significant changes to responsibilities that are important for Council's consideration as part of this approval are the ongoing operating costs the city will take on to repair and maintain the facility, as well as the estimated capital renewal requirements for the next 25 years. The estimated repair and maintenance budget was derived from maintenance costs of similar facilities proportionate to building condition, resource consumption, asset value, quality to maintain the functionality of the asset. The capital renewal estimate was based on a building condition assessment, which was completed in 2022. Next slide, please. For further clarity, entering into the new proposed lease agreement will have both operating and capital impacts to the city. It's important to note that these financial impacts would also occur in the eventuality that the building reverted to city ownership. Upon the commencement of the new lease, there will be an immediate shortfall to the city's maintenance budget. However, this will be addressed through the recommended funded service package that will be brought forward this fall. This service package will ensure that the city is appropriately resourcing the repair and maintenance work. On the capital side, administration has estimated $375,000 for necessary maintenance equipment, tools, and vehicles required to maintain the facility, which will also come forward in the fall supplemental budget adjustment. For the facility infrastructure renewal requirements, adding this building to the city's inventory without adding additional capital funding will increase the gap between what we should be investing and what we are investing in the renewal of our infrastructure assets. The estimated capital renewal costs for this facility are $56 million over the next 10 years and $131 million over the next 25. It's important to note these are high-level estimates with an accuracy of -50% to +100%. To mitigate some of the financial impacts of this, it is critical that administration continues to advance work related to asset rationalization and right-sizing. Next slide, please. If Council approves the recommendations within this report, administration will be able to execute the new lease agreement, which will commence on October 1st, 2024. In addition, administration will prepare a funded service package for consideration by Council during the fall 2024 supplemental operating capital budget. If the proposed lease agreement to the Citadel is not approved, the existing leases would remain in effect until the term expires on September 30th, 2024. Administration at that time could attempt to negotiate a new lease. However, this requires commitments from both parties. And if that doesn't materialize, the existing leases would likely go into overhold. And at that point, either party has the ability to terminate on short notice. Should the city choose not to continue working with the Citadel, the facility and lands would be returned to the city. And in this situation, the city would incur all the costs associated with the facility until a new partner is found. Taking all this into account, administration recommends the approval of the recommendations within this report, as the new lease is striking a balance with a long-standing operator, which will result in the continued operation of this facility and all the associated economic and cultural benefits to Edmontonians. Next slide. Thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. If you please step back, we'll go to the speakers. And before I call their names, this is a new process that we have to just highlight some of the expectations when we engage with the public. So before we begin our discussion, I want to share our collective expectations for the conduct of everyone participating to ensure a safe and inclusive environment and workplace. These expectations apply equally to both in-person and virtual attendees. Hearing from the public is an important part of Council's process to ensure we hear the full diversity of opinions that exists within our community. As meeting chair, I have a responsibility to ensure the safety of all participants in today's meeting. As part of that responsibility, inappropriate comments or gestures will not be tolerated. If they occur, I will direct the clerk to immediately remove anyone engaging in such behavior. The type of behavior that will result in the removal from the meeting includes making disrespectful comments directed at individual staff members or other public speakers, or using profane language. Responsive behaviors to show support or dissent, such as shouting, cheering, clapping, or using the chat, or emotion response features in the Google Meet are also not permitted. I will not provide any additional warnings, and once the removed person will not be permitted to rejoin the meeting. This meeting is being live streamed, and everyone is welcome to view the live stream online. Again, my role as chair is not to moderate the nature of the content being discussed, but to ensure chamber behaviors are maintained to support a safe, respectful, and neutral space for my colleagues, city employees, and the public. I thank everyone in advance for your respectful participation in today's discussion. So with that, I'm going to call upon the speakers now. So please come to the front. Jennifer Edison, for speaker number 1. Jesse Van Ringe, Citadel Theater, in person again. Number 2, Ellen Nursell. Number 3, Daryl Cloran, speaker number 4, and Paul Johnson, speaker number 5. All right, we will start with Jennifer.
Good morning, Mayor Sohi, members of Executive Committee. Thank you for having us. My name is Jennifer Addison. I'm the chair of the Citadel Board of Directors, and I'm very pleased to present on behalf of the board. I'm joined today by Jesse Van Ryan, our producer and incoming executive director. And Ms. Van Ryan will talk about how we deliver value to the citizens of Edmonton and the broader arts community here at home and internationally as a nonprofit charitable theater organization. I'm going to speak about why the board has approved entering into this new lease by talking about the arrangement we have today and where we want to go. Next slide, please. The Citadel built the building that we operate in today. It opened in 1976, has been our home for nearly 50 years. According to Article 9 of the original land lease signed by the city in 1974, the ownership of this building transfers to the city in September of this year. Knowing that this transfer was coming, the Citadel and city administration have worked collaboratively for well over a year to determine how best to share responsibilities between us to ensure the success of both parties for the next 10 years and beyond. Next slide, please. The building serves a number of purposes here in Edmonton. Most exciting for us is our areas of operations, the theaters, workshops, box offices, lobbies, offices in some commercial spaces, and a soon-to-be opened restaurant. Next slide, please. We are part of the city's public pedway, connecting Canada Place to the LRT and the downtown pedway system. And the building has beautiful public gardens, open to the public, fantastic community spaces, especially in the winter. Currently, the Citadel owns, operates, and maintains all of these spaces. We keep these spaces open, clean, and secure for the use of Edmontonians. The city provides an annual contribution to our operating costs equal to the square footage of the pedway, which is roughly 4% of our operating cost, and the plants in the garden are maintained by the Muttart Conservatory. The Citadel as a building is much more than a theatre. It's a downtown thoroughfare and a public space for all Edmontonians. Maintaining these public spaces in the facility, including the LRT pedway and indoor gardens, does split the Citadel's focus away from our core objective, delivering exceptional live theatre. Next slide, please. In the new lease under the city's ownership, the Citadel will continue to operate 100% of these spaces, again, keeping both public and theatre spaces open, clean, and secure. The Citadel will now be responsible for 100% of those costs, including the pedway costs. The Citadel will continue to be responsible for the maintenance and repair of all theatre improvements and commercial spaces. We are experts in this area, and we will continue to focus on ensuring these spaces thrive. The city will take on the maintenance and repair of the common spaces and building envelope. By working together, we believe we can leverage the city's expertise to implement a strong preventative maintenance plan and keep the building safe and welcoming for many years to come. Next slide, please. The Citadel is a financially stable, nonprofit charitable organization with approximately $14 million a year in annual revenues. Although we have been a prudent owner of the building to date, both the Citadel and city administration recognize that our core strength is being a world-class theatre and animating this building, whereas the city's strengths lie in asset management of public spaces. To aid the city in these maintenance and repair responsibilities, the Citadel will contribute funds in two ways. First, the Citadel will contribute a minimum of $100,000 a year from our operating funds, and likely more, by paying the city $2 per ticket sold to every Citadel production. In a typical year prior to the pandemic, this would amount to about $200,000 or 100,000 tickets sold. And as we continue to rebuild following the pandemic, the city will share in our success. Second, capital funds and grants. Right now, the Citadel has nearly $3 million remaining in provincial capital grant funds that we received in 2023. We will collaborate with the city to identify the most effective ways to deploy those funds. We have no reason to expect that a new lease will impact our ability to attract future grants, and we will bring our track record of success in attracting funding to the building to this table. Next slide, please. The Citadel is immensely proud of its place as a cultural jewel in the heart of the downtown arts district, one that contributes to civic pride by being the hub of Edmonton's reputation as a world-class theatre town. The Citadel's board supports this new lease and thanks administration for all of their hard work over the past many months to come to a recommendation that ensures the building remains a vibrant and inclusive destination for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just quick clarity. Did you say how much was remaining in the grant funding?
Just about $3 million.
$3 million. Okay, thank you. Got it. Okay. Next, we'll go to Jessie. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Hello, my name is Jessie Van Ryan, and I'm thrilled to share that I will assume the role of Executive Director at the Citadel on May 13th. It is an incredible team, and I'm honored to lead them with Artistic Director Daryl Cloran. Next slide, please. In 2025, the Citadel will be celebrating 60 years of contribution and leadership in Edmonton's cultural community. We are one of the biggest destinations in the downtown core, and we are one of the largest regional theaters in North America, and we are proud to call Edmonton home. Next slide, please. Over the past 50 years, the Citadel has been an exceptional steward of this building, and that will continue even as we shift from owner to tenant in this new relationship. This building truly is our home. Ultimately, the Citadel's expertise is in theater production, not building maintenance. By removing the responsibilities involved in managing and maintaining a public building, the Citadel will be able to better focus on our true mission and long-term success of connecting artists and audiences. As a regional theater, it is crucial we ensure that the artistic work we share is reflective of the diverse lived experiences in Edmonton. We celebrate, welcome, and share stories with many different communities that make up this city. Our stages come alive with different voices and cultures. We strive to make our productions and our facilities inclusive and accessible. We believe the Citadel is a place where everyone belongs. Next slide, please. Our core mandate includes building the next generation of theater makers with our multiple offerings for mentorship, education, and development. The Foot Theater School sees over 1,000 registrants each year, starting with kids ages 4 and up, all the way to adults and seniors. Next slide, please. We are an essential partner of Edmonton's performing arts ecosystem, and we provide smaller companies and independent artists with free or low-cost rehearsal and performance space, presentation opportunities, accessibility tools, and more. Thanks to the Citadel, actors, technicians, designers, and arts workers can make their home in Edmonton. We have received an outpouring of support about this lease agreement from downtown businesses and other local performing arts organizations like Edmonton Fringe, Free Will Shakespeare, Common Ground Arts, Tiny Bear Jaws, and more. Next slide, please. We coordinate and support the use of public spaces like the Lee Pavilion for Edmontonians. Almost every day there is a community or family event being hosted in these very special spaces, bringing life to the building's public areas. Next slide, please. We are active with the Downtown Business Association and take our role in building downtown vitality very seriously. We drive business for our neighboring hotels and restaurants by attracting Edmontonians and tourists downtown. We help the neighborhood come to life. We are a leading partner along with Winspear Art Gallery and the City of Edmonton in the renewal of the Arts District adjacent to City Hall. We are all key to downtown Edmonton's revitalization, and we support the city's strategies for a safe, active, and vibrant heart. Next slide, please. Finally, a few numbers to provide additional background. We are very pleased to say that our attendance numbers have rebounded nicely since COVID. This fiscal year will show our best attendance in the past 6 years, bringing approximately 120,000 people downtown in the last 11 months. Next slide, please. Our gross revenue, typically around $12 million, jumped to over $14 million, illustrating the strength of our COVID recovery. The past few years have been very challenging, and this is good news not only for Citadel, but for all of our partners in the downtown core. We will show a small net surplus this fiscal year. Next slide, please. Finally, we are a significant employer downtown. We have a full-time team that typically ranges from 45 to 55 people with an additional 75 part-time staff members. Each production requires an extensive team of artists, crew, and other contract workers. A typical year might see around 350 cast and crew working at the Citadel. The Citadel keeps our city's creative community engaged, employed, and residing in Edmonton. Next slide. The Citadel is an economic contributor, a tourist destination, a source of great community pride, home to Canada's most creative theatrical adventures and partnerships, holder of an international reputation for artistic quality and an inspiration to Edmontonians. We believe strongly in the proposed lease is the best way forward for both the City of Edmonton and the Citadel. It is the product of enormous effort by both parties, and we can't wait to move forward in a secure and stable partnership. Thank you to City staff for your work on this portfolio, and thank you to City Council for your time and consideration.
Just give me just 1 second. Okay. All right. Okay, before we go to our next public speaker, I want to welcome some students who are joining us from Monsieur William Irwin School, grade 6 class, and they are here with their teacher, Michael Lesko. Right, thank you. Hi, Michael. How you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah. Ward Pihisavan. This is Ward Pihisavan is represented by Councillor Cartmel, who is not joining us today. He is probably looking after other ward-related work. He's not part of the committee, right? So it's optional for council members who are not a part of the committee to join a meeting, so he'll probably be busy with other stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you having fun? Yeah. Really? Are you having fun? Yeah. See, let Edmontonians hear that. Okay. Are you here for the whole day or part of the day? Part of the day? What are you doing for part of the day? Are you doing any mock consoles? You are, eh? What are your subject? Come on down here. Who's the mayor? Come down to the mic. Come on. Sorry to disturb the proceeding on the issue of very important importance to us, but we like doing this. We enjoy it. It brings more enjoyment to our work too. Yeah. So, what is your name, Mayor?
My name is Amanda.
Amanda, Mayor Amanda. So, what are you going to be discussing?
We're discussing if public transit in Edmonton should be free.
Free for everyone?
Yeah, for everyone.
Okay. Well, let us know what you decide, right? And I think this council had that conversation a few times as well, so you can actually go back and listen to that conversation if you do want to do your background research and on this topic, right? So it will be lovely to let us know, because we want to know what your perspective on that be. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And wish you all the best.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Nice to see you all. Okay. Yeah. There you go. I really like your confidence. That's remarkable. Okay, now sorry about that. Now we will go to, I think Ellen, you're next, right? You want to go next, or you want to have Daryl want to go next?
Just the two of us registered to speak, Mayor Sohi, but we have other members of the team available for questions.
Oh, I see. So Ellen, Daryl, and Paul just to answer questions only?
Yeah, we're here to answer questions.
Oh, okay.
Our speaking is done.
Okay, got it. All right, now we'll open for questions from committee members, then we'll go to rest of council members. Who wants to start? Councillor? Maybe I'll start. Right. So the land currently is owned by the city, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And when the building was built in 1976, and the lease that was signed with the city stipulated that once that lease expires, city will take the ownership of the building?
Correct.
So that is pretty clear in the previous lease, right?
It is.
So the discussion is about, so there's no choice whether the city wants to do it or not. This is something that's stipulated. So your understanding is that city must take over the building?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, got it. And then the issue is, what is the best deal that can be negotiated to mitigate some of the risk that city will take on, and also allow you to focus on your core business of creating experience for people in the theater? Is that, because that's kind of the gist of the conversations, right? Okay. The $3 million that is remaining in the grant funding, is that a provincial grant funding?
Yes, it is. We received capital grant funds of $4 million last year from the province. We have made some investments in the facility over the past year, but we have funds that are as yet unspent.
Yeah. Was this to repair the roof? Oh, I know, because there were some concerns. I remember when I was a federal minister, talking to folks at Citadel. I'm a big fan of Citadel. I think everyone is every Edmontonian is a big fan of Citadel. I performed in their building, right? So there's personal memories on that too, right? So, and you're such a phenomenal, iconic building and the institution that is so important to the city. So any hard questions are not about the value of the institutions, it's more of doing our due diligence, right? So I heard about the roof. So can you talk about the condition of the roof?
The roof has been identified in the building condition assessment report as one of the items that needs attention.
Okay.
And in the condition assessment report that we've received, those numbers are entirely manageable. We have used the first $1 million of our infrastructure grant from the province to replace, update the boiler system in McLab.
Okay.
That was a 40-year-old system that was in there that was desperately needed replacement. We are also using it, some of it is being used jointly with Downtown Vibrancy we're bringing money to the table, the city's bringing money to the table on the Downtown Vibrancy project to upgrade the quality of the digital signage system and digital artwork that we can produce in the public spaces around the Lee Pavilion and around the Tucker Amphitheater. So those things are, there's been several upgrades to the building that are underway now, so that when the building changes hands, it's in the best possible condition it can be.
Got it. And you don't see that $3 million grant being at risk of,
No.
No.
Have
you had any conversation with the province around that if the lease is transferred over to the city becomes the owner of the building as well, that grant will follow that lease?
I can share that when we applied for the grant, we did include a letter from the city, just as as part of the lease, so they were aware of the situation.
Got it, okay. And I know Citadel Group will be responsible for the maintenance and regular upgrades to the theater space, right? And but the entire building envelope, including where the theaters are, that will become the responsibility of the city, right?
That's correct.
Okay, got it. You also mentioned the $14 million annual revenue that Citadel generates. Would signing a lease with the city free up some of those obligations? Then you can use that $14 million to do what you need to do, which is advanced theater? Or does it free up any resources for you to focus on some of your core business of arts and culture and theater?
We expect that it will, Mayor Sohi. We are expecting to save some operating and maintenance costs from contracts that we have with suppliers right now to maintain the common spaces and building envelope. It also frees up our internal resources of time and attention to the building. We're really looking forward to partnering with administration to build a strong preventative maintenance plan. We just have not been able to, as a nonprofit charitable organization, build out the expertise in facilities management.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I have a few additional questions, but I'll come back to them. Councillor Wright.
Thank you. I can't believe it's 50 years old already. Oh my goodness. But I'm just wondering, in the original terms of the lease, or was there something as far as the maintenance that would have to be maintained or kept up in order for it to be transferred back to the city in a satisfactory condition?
Yes, so the terms of the land lease that we have today requires us to turn over the building to the city in reasonable condition, reasonable wear and tear accepted. And we're certainly confident through the review of the building condition assessment that we're going to meet that obligation. Okay,
just wondering about that. And then I just want some more clarity on that provincial grant. So the letter that was sent with the grant application, that identified that that the lease was coming due in September, or what were the options shown to them?
So whenever we apply for infrastructure funding as a nonprofit and charitable organization, we have to include any sort of documentation in regards to our lease or the building situation. And so a letter was included specifically just stating that the city was a partner and we needed to be able to have the city's permission to apply for the grant. And that goes with any of our infrastructure grants.
Okay. And was there any questions by them or concerns? Okay.
No, none raised.
I just don't want them to pull back on that money there. And then, so right now the city's been responsible, you said, for the pedway and for the common area with the plants, and we've been and we cover the cost of 4% of the operating funds. I'm just wondering, what's the difference between that and the difference between the ticket surcharge?
Sure. So right now, the Citadel pays 100% of the operating costs of the building, so utilities, cleaning, security, and the city reimburses us 4% of those costs annually, which is the square footage of the pedway. It doesn't cover the indoor gardens. It's the percentage square footage of the pedway relative to the overall size of the building. I think what changes in the new arrangement is we'll now bear 100% of those operating costs. But the city will contribute operations and maintenance to make sure that the building envelope and the common areas are maintained.
Okay. And what has been like 4% of the operating costs that the city has covered in the past?
Between $50,000 and $65,000 a year.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate everyone being here this morning. And I think most of my questions were answered, but I wanted to just dig in a little bit around, the way that your time and energy is being split right now. And you spoke a little bit about savings on operating and maintenance costs and how that might free up some additional time and energy on your parts. Can you speak a little bit about that? Like, what opportunities do you see in enhancing that capacity now that you wouldn't, if this is moving forward, you wouldn't have to be handling the operation and maintenance side of things?
Sure, I think I can start. So the operation and maintenance fees savings that we expect from those maintenance contracts are really going to be offset by the capital contribution fee or the ticket fee that we will owe to the city out of our revenue sales. Where we really see the opportunity for us to focus in on theater operations is when we're deciding how best to invest in the building when we do projects such as the roof or the boilers, and having the expertise available to the team to help us make long-term preventative maintenance plans. So we're excited to partner with the city administration to make sure that we're doing the best, most appropriate choices over the next 10 years and as the lease continues. The other thing that it frees us up for us is our known costs. So right now, if something happens unexpectedly in the building, that's a cost to the Citadel, and we have to fix it at that time. And we may or may not have access to grant funding or operational funding support to do those repairs in a timely manner. So this gives us stability, particularly important to us as we return from the pandemic. We know we have a great partner who will help us keep the building in good repair.
Great, thank you so much. The rest of my questions are for administration.
Thank you, Councillor Salvador. Councillor Tang.
Oh, I think she's in front of me.
Doesn't matter, Councillor.
I want it to be last. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much, and appreciate the many opportunities I've had to spend in Citadel. I don't think anyone here is denying the value of Citadel. So, thanks for answering some of these questions more about the agreement. I was curious when this was. I mean, I don't suspect any of you were around back in the 1970s when this was struck up. But what was the intention of surrendering it to the city at the end of the term?
None of us were
Okay.
around
Just-
when this
just
was signed,
curious if
Councillor
there's, like, a
Tang. We
story.
could speculate, but I would hate to lead you down the wrong path.
And I was wondering, how did you land on the 100,000 contribution?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We wanted to make sure it was a meaningful contribution relative to how much revenue we think we can generate. And it was directly tied to the amount of immediate costs we expect to offset in this new arrangement. And we wanted to make sure that we're all incented to bring more folks downtown. And so when we think about how well we do with ticket sales, this seemed like a meaningful number that would drive us all in the right direction.
Because I was wondering if it was based on years past, kind of the amount required. I would imagine it's a lot more. Given kind of what you said about the roof, I mean, there's, grants available also to meet some of the other upgrades. Anyway, so that's why I was curious about the number.
Yeah, it's certainly our challenge is we can't contribute large capital dollars, so we wanted it to be a meaningful investment from our operating revenues that we believe we can continue to provide over the duration of a long-term lease.
Okay. And you said this is in relatively good condition, but some of the kind of servicing infrastructure is from the 70s, right? Like, so for example, if you have a pipe burst, is it possible to do targeted maintenance, or is it like a wholesale replacement?
I think that depends very much on precisely the circumstances
Okay.
of the situation. I mean, we find little nooks and crannies where things have to be sort of dug out and replaced. We're doing a little bit of duct work on the new restaurant that is clearly dated, but it's so I think the capacity of the repair people that are in our ecosystem allow us to sort of tackle things
Okay.
piece by piece.
Yeah, and when you said you did that building maintenance assessment, I'm assuming it's the same tool that the city uses that you're using, so that we're on the same page about what's good condition, what's not.
The building condition assessment was done for the city.
I see. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. And then you mentioned 14 million. Is that for 2023, or or year to date?
Fiscal year ending 2024, so it's this current year that we're in. It's a forecast.
Oh, I see.
And our calendar year ends June 30th.
Yeah, so a month left in the forecast. So those are pretty reliable numbers.
Okay. And then I guess what was your can you give me some numbers from like 2022, 2023, just so I have a sense of your growth, like your ticket sale revenue?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, our revenue has floated around 12 million per year. Obviously, the pandemic was a blip and it dropped for a few years in there, but for the last 6-7 years, it's actually been pretty reliable, about 12. This year, we've recovered and
Okay.
have hit that $14 million target.
And what was your ticket sale like for 2022, 2023?
I think at the peak of COVID, it was almost zero.
Sorry, I meant like after like 2022,
Oh,
2023.
2020.
So when things are starting to come back.
I've got. It was about the last year was about 100,000.
Oh, okay.
100,000, and this year is let's say a touch over 120.
And I think the offsetting story to that is that's our revenues. Our costs have changed quite dramatically. We've had a new understudy strategy implemented to make sure we're not canceling performances for patrons. And like everybody else, we're seeing a difference in the cost to deliver services than we were before the pandemic.
And so therefore, based on that, you're fairly confident about being, of course, I think you'll be fairly in good shape in terms of contributing to that reserve. So that's
Yes.
yeah, that's great. This is not really related to the building status, but I was just curious. I see the mention of the 3550 initiative. You're reaching that goal, or?
We are, yeah. It's a big part. We were one of the first organizations in Edmonton to sign on, and it's a big part of who we are as a company and the art that we put on our stages. So looking at the season that is just completing, we've more than achieved 3550 in all of the artists that we engage, and the plays that we produce, and the voices that are on our stage, and the composition of us as a team.
That's incredible. Congratulations for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what is the 3550 initiative? Just for the benefit of the public who
The
might
3550 initiative is across Alberta. Many arts organizations have signed on, and it's a belief in ensuring that the composition of your company and artists reflects 35% BIPOC and 50% indicating gender parity.
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you very much. Don't have too many more questions. Really appreciate all the information you've been able to share today. Just wanted to, I heard a few questions around just the eligibility for external grants. I certainly think that's a huge advantage in that I believe you can access grants that we as a municipality are not eligible for. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
That's great.
As a charitable organization, we have access to a wide variety of funding agencies and governments.
Great. And maybe Mr. Nersal, just because of your experience with what I will always think of as the Space and Science Center, you were able to access a range of grants, even under a very comparable owner or lease and ownership.
Absolutely. There's the city is the owner of the building at TELUS World of Science, and that in no way impaired our ability to secure funding from the province or the federal government or other funding agencies, and the amount raised was significant.
Great. And then, something that I think you touched on in your presentation, but just wanted to pull out a little bit further as well, that, obviously this lease agreement is benefiting the Citadel as an organization, but the facility itself also serves a broader arts community. Could you speak a bit more to that?
Sure. So Citadel Theatre operates what we call our Heart and Hub program, and it allows for us to offer free or low-cost rehearsal space and other resources to smaller organizations and independent share what we have, especially post-pandemic. There are a lot of companies, organizations, and artists that don't have access to space or things like props or accessibility tools, and it's been a core part of our work since the pandemic to make sure that we are sharing what we have available to our colleagues and our neighbors in Edmonton.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that really shows the ripple effect of the benefits of your organization. And you just mentioned accessibility as well. Am I correct that some of the recent investments that you've made in the facility are making it a more accessible facility?
Yes. So in the last number of years, we've been able to make the Shocker Theatre, the backstage, is now completely accessible for those that utilize mobility devices. We've got one dressing room that's completely accessible, and we've added other spaces. Our Shocker Theatre, for the audience, we've completely renovated the seating area in there that went from 2 wheelchair position seats to now 8, and has made that space fully accessible. The McLab Theatre has been made fully accessible, and we've got plans to redo washrooms as part of this capital plan grant that we're talking about. There is an allotment that we had originally set aside in there to redo the washrooms for the McLab, the Rice, the Bentleys, as well as the theatre school and the theatre school classrooms. So that's another huge component, is just to make sure that every single part of our building for artists, for public users, and for staff is completely accessible.
Wonderful.
You should quickly mention the relaxed performance too.
Oh, yes. Our performances as well. So being able to make sure that the work we do, not just the physical building space, but that the performances are also accessible to anybody that wants to come and enjoy them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. No further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steve. Councillor Rice.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning and to speak. So my colleagues asked lots of good questions. I only have a few here. So the first one is about the lease agreement itself. And I know, for the existing lease and to the new lease is another 10 years. The quick question is about why and what's the specific reason we made the 2 change for the new lease, and in terms of facility capital renew and facility repair and maintenance.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. The reason for the change at this time is that the ownership of the building transfers from the Citadel to the city. So it's an opportunity for both of us to assess our relative strengths and opportunities and make sure that the building is cared for, and that the Citadel as a tenant instead of an owner is signing a contract where we can deliver the best of our services over the long term.
Okay, so ownership change, and okay, so I may have follow-up question to administration for that piece. So in terms of the garden piece, I really love that piece, and I think that is a viable addition and for the center and for our public to enjoy that spaces. One piece in there is that waterfall. Is there any planning for that waterfall piece?
Sure. So as we've mentioned, the waterfall is part of the Downtown Vibrancy Fund allotment that we're going to be investing in a digital mural with LED lighting that will be on that waterfall, as well as awning lighting and additional lighting on one of our elevator shafts in the Lee Pavilion. The waterfall is not able, I'm going to actually throw the the waterfall, specifically the water question, over to Alan.
Oh, there it goes. It's a little fussy. The waterfall has given Edmontonians 50 years of enjoyment. It's a spectacular architectural feature, but it is at the end of its lifetime, and costing it would be an inappropriate use of, or rebuilding would be an inappropriate use of capital funds. It's just too expensive. And so we have worked with Downtown Vibrancy to come up with a digital solution, which we're really excited about. We have spec'd the hardware, and we're heading towards installation. And so that space, that public space along the pedway that serves the general public and groups that are using the space will be animated in a whole new and spectacular way by the digital system that will be installed in the next matter of months.
So from financial impact perspective, that is separate from this lease agreement. It's just from downtown vibrancy funding and for improve that piece, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, it's about a 50-50 split between Citadel dollars and Vibrancy dollars to make that happen.
To make that happen. Okay, so that is a part of operating. And from Citadel perspective.
It's part of our where we are allocating some of our capital infrastructure dollars to do that.
Okay, so that's how under capital. Okay, thank you very much. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Councillor Jans.
Yes, I would like to move in camera. I have a couple of questions pertinent to the relevant sections for advice from officials and legal.
Yeah, we can do that, but those are to administration, right?
Yes.
So we want to conclude questions to.
Oh, my apologies. I thought it was as one delegation.
No.
Okay. Yeah. No worries.
So I'll carry on with Mike. One big flag I have, not related to the lease, but when I look back at how LNU were able to work with the federal government securing funding for TELUS World of Science, now that the Bill 18, which is coming pending approval, would not allow city-owned buildings to access federal funding without the approval of the province. So that is a big flag for me about our ability to access, and I'll have that questions to legal as well, right, to seeking clarity. Because my understanding of Bill 18 is that anytime federal government allocates any resources to the municipality for upgrades to the building of new buildings, anything, it has to go through the provincial government, right? If province doesn't okay it, money will not flow. So the arrangement that you and I had when I was a federal minister, that will be prohibited, right? So that raises a lot of flags for me about the lease, that if we are taking on that responsibility, like if the lease remains with Citadel Group at this time, you can directly access federal funding. But if the lease transfers to the city, we would not be able to access those funding directly from the federal government. Any thoughts on that?
I think Bill 18 transcends this conversation. It has such wide-reaching implications for the way we do everything. I don't know. I can't. I can only speculate on what it might mean for the long haul and relationships between charitable organizations like the Science Center or the Citadel and the federal government. I'd like to think that for community good projects like that, where a not-for-profit charitable organization is drawing the benefit, that whoever oversees a program like that at the provincial level sees that this is the good work, community building work.
Yeah, my hope would be the same as yours, right? That doesn't mean that we hold up on the lease, right? I'm flagging that as a big concern for us to think more about and do more analysis, because that's not only going to impact our ability to access federal funding for Citadel renewal, but also TELUS World of Science, another building that city owns and leases back to nonprofit sector, right?
Yeah. It's a huge curveball, there's no question.
Yeah. Okay. And last question is related to, like, if your preference would be, well, lease needs to be transferred because of the previous agreement, but if we were to just transfer, like, we know what the cost is going to be. Administration has given us a estimated cost. If we just transfer that money over to you, and you take on the responsibility of doing what you do now, right, which is maintaining the building, would that be, that's something you desire or not? You just want to focus on your core business of theater?
We've spent a number of months assessing the variety of options with
Yeah.
city administration,
Yeah.
and we are supportive of the current recommendation.
I see,
We think it sets us both up for success to focus on our key strengths.
And the surcharge of $2 per ticket, if you are at 100,000 attendees now or tickets sold, but that $100,000 contribution is the minimum contribution, right? If you are able to generate $200,000, hopefully the ticket sales continue to grow, so that's potential for
If we were paying that ticket fee this season, it would amount to roughly $240,000.
I see, okay. Good, okay, good. Thank you for that, appreciate it. Councillor Wright, you have a question? Yeah.
I'm just wondering how that $2 surcharge was landed on.
It's an even number. So it wasn't 227.
So is 4 and 6.
Yeah, I know. And 4 and 6 start to bite really hard, and that number corresponds to, is offset by some of the modest savings that result from this lease. So it was a manageable number that still we feel material and doesn't bite too hard, but keeps our attention.
Okay, but there wasn't any sort of analysis or engagement or anything done as to what patrons would feel comfortable paying?
We know that right now price resistance is always a challenge for us, and so the amount has to remain modest.
Okay. And is there anything like that, like with TELUS World of Science?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, what sort of the comfort level of people out there is, especially in these times of affordability and whatnot.
Yeah. And if you look at our net finances over the past decade or so, you'll see that our nets at the end of the year are sort of in that low 6-figure range, whether it could be positive, could be negative. So that sort of number is material for us. It makes a difference.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you so much. So those are all the questions that we had. Now we'll go to administration for questions in public, and at appropriate time we'll go in camera to ask in private questions that are related to some privacy and confidentiality. Okay. I have to leave in about 18 minutes. I have a, yeah. Or we. Yeah, we won't be able to deal with this in 18 minutes, right? So, yeah. Yeah, it's just maybe this has to be intergovernmental in camera. Any initial thoughts from legal on Bill 18's implications of our ability to access federal funding for rehabilitation of Citadel?
Mr. Mayor, it's a great question. I'm just conversing with some of my colleagues here because I'm not very familiar with that piece of legislation. Can we maybe come back?
Yeah,
and get
they'll
that
come back.
answered? Yeah.
Okay, come back. So I'm a big fan of Citadel. I think this is something we need to figure out, and we have obligations to do so, right? But I am really worried about our financial situation and taking on more obligations at a time when we are already struggling to maintain the infrastructure that we are responsible for. So I want to get your thoughts on, like, what the thought process that you went through while you were negotiating the deal. I need to hear about that so that I have a comfort level that you looked at all the options and that you arrived at this conclusion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Sohi. So I would start by saying I'm happy to hear those comments from you as well, because it is something that we're constantly thinking about on administration's end. We do have a large gap that we have to work through on the infrastructure side. And so when we were thinking about this facility and the rest of our portfolio as well, it's really looking at which facilities do we feel are significant and we would want to prioritize, while also looking at the different agreements that we have in place. There's multiple agreements that we've entered into over a number of years, and each one will be slightly different. In this situation, we were faced with a situation where the building does revert to the city at the end of the term. And so that's a key trigger of where we really need to start looking at, okay, how do we review the best strengths of each organization to make sure that this facility within our downtown core can continue to provide value to Edmontonians, can continue to provide accessibility to people who want to come see the arts and create vibrancy. That's a key piece as to why we focused in on this. And so then the structure around this lease was, how do we build it out to make sure that there is a contribution from the Citadel that's different than we have with other nonprofits, and we're slowly moving towards that as well. So through multiple agreements, we're constantly reviewing who should be responsible for what in terms of the repair and maintenance, as well as, is there a way that we can get additional money coming into the city from a capital contribution from the tenants that we have. When we're dealing with nonprofits, to be frank about that, there's always a challenge on the financial side, depending on the organization that you're dealing with. And so we try to strike a balance around what can we impose upon a party that is both doable, that's not impacting the end user to a huge degree, while also balancing what the implications are on the city's end. So with all this said, at the back end, it's really critical, and I try to stress this within our report or our presentation, that we do need to constantly look at all of our assets and make those decisions around which ones do we need to maintain and keep versus divest. And those, we have conversations coming up related to that, and we will continue to do that over the next number of years as we're dealing with asset rationalization.
Got it. And you identified $56 million capital needs over the 10-year period. And so you must have done some analysis of the building, the previous investments made by the Citadel Group, right, and all that, right? So you're kind of comfortable with that number, the liability that we're going to be taking on?
So the estimate that we received is a Class 5 estimate. That's why it's one of those minus 50% to plus 100%. We're going to be doing more work in that regard. The benefit of the city taking over the building is that we can have our teams that have that expertise start doing more of the preventative maintenance associated with the facility. So in doing that and having the right groups involved to repair specific items, we can extend when we may need to do certain capital work by a period of time. All of this is work that we'll have to continue on, and we'll be focusing on that effort with our facility maintenance team as well as our building lifecycle management team within IIS.
No, I like that division of responsibility. You're doing what you're good at, Citadel going what they're good at, right? And freeing up some of their resources. Maybe this is a broader question, like if we do free up those resources, that is our contribution to arts and culture from taxpayers, right?
Absolutely, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you see it that way as well, right?
Absolutely,
No,
yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, Council Salvador, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. So maybe just a few questions to build on that. So, if this were not to be approved, the building would come back to us regardless. And I'm wondering if you can elaborate on expected cost avoidance by moving forward with the proposed lease agreement. I know in the report it mentioned that costs incurred as a result of not approving would be higher than the costs incurred through the lease agreement.
With this new lease, the Citadel will be covering some of those costs such as custodial and utilities. So obviously if this does not move forward and we take that building on, we will be having all those costs to maintain as well as keep it open for the public as it is connected through that public pedway and the public park.
Do we have an estimated dollar figure of what that would look like?
I believe the utilities, and I'm going to throw this number out, and I'm going to look at them. It's about 800,000, I believe, a year. So it is quite a significant number. Custodial is about 400, 500,000 as well. So it is a significant number.
Right. Okay, that's really helpful context. Thank you for that. And I know this question was asked of our speakers, but I also just wanted to ask this to administration around the 100,000. You know, how was that determined? We got an answer from the delegation, but wanted to hear your perspectives on that as well. And just I guess reasonableness of that amount.
This is always the challenging conversation anytime we're dealing with these, and we've been trying to do this for a number of different agreements as we're moving ahead with certain changes to mitigate issues for the city or mitigate risk for the city. So in terms of that number, it really was working with the Citadel around what is both feasible on their side that does not impact their longer term sustainability and operations. We really want to make sure that we have a tenant in place that can do the necessary programming and keep this building occupied and used by Edmontonians. On the reasonableness side, in terms of the value, what we appreciate is the fact that there is a ticket fee component to this, and so through growing attendances and assuming that the programming work that they put in place will continue to grow that, there is a larger contribution that will come to the city, but it was striking a balance. There are times where we would prefer higher numbers for different facilities, but you have to work with each individual organization as best you can.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, on the building condition assessment, if we were to put this building into sort of our state and condition report, do we know where it would fall in terms of like the grade that we'd be assigning the facility?
It is from what I recall seeing, I think it was a building condition rating of C. It is an older structure. It's 50 years old, and there will be certain capital investments that will be required over the coming years, hence the larger numbers that you've seen in the report.
Okay. And then just with my remaining time here, I also wanted to ask about just how this building is contemplated within our downtown district energy strategy. I know it's a bit of a bigger question, but have we done any assessment on the energy system for the building in general? I think looking back, I believe it's part of phase 1A maybe, but yeah, looking for some context there.
It is part of phase 1A, and so this building would be connected through this first portion of the utility connections, and so this is something that we'll be doing more planning work in terms of the boilers that are in place in the building right now. So how do we have to try to time this where we can connect district energy in, where we might be able to not have to renew boilers, but there may be situations where in the event of like a failure that's not anticipated, you may still need to replace the boiler in advance. So just wanted to flag that for council, but the end goal is that we would be looking to connect this building in as part of that first phase.
And with the new lease agreement, it actually gives us more rights to do that because we will be taking on the capital and operating for that building. With them ownership right now, obviously we'd have to work with the Citadel if it was a lease like it is currently, a little bit more hand in hand.
Right. Okay, that's great to hear. Let me just check here. I think I will yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Salvador. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you very much. Really just want to thank, everyone, but to the team as well for the work you've done on this lease. I think it offers really great value for Edmontonians and for us as an organization. So thank you for the diligence on that. Just a few quick questions. The capital reserve contribution, so the ticket surcharge, just wanted to understand, I think it's a great model for other leases. I hope we start to see more of that in our nonprofit leases moving forward. Will it go into a dedicated reserve, or do we anticipate it offsetting some of the operational, and I guess when I say operational, it's some of those that proactive maintenance that you mentioned?
So within the lease, it gives us the ability to put it in our general fund and use it for whatever. I'll let Bart speak to a bit more on what our intention is, though.
Our intention is to create a separate reserve, though, to ensure that we can continue focusing on this building, but we do have flexibility to use that in ways that we need to. We're refining exactly how we're going to structure that, both with finance and our IIS colleagues, primarily so that we can make it as efficient and easy to access in the event of emerging issues that arise.
Great. Well, I really appreciate that. I think having, being really intentional with that money, having a dedicated reserve with the necessary flexibility. But I think that's a really positive approach rather than it just kind of going into the ether, not the ether, just the larger pot. I also appreciate some of the discussion of just sort of the overall risk. Again, we have a large asset portfolio that we're behind on our maintenance for. I noticed though that there seem to be some really clear ways that we can help mitigate that risk moving into the future, and sort of beyond just this site in particular, but looking at our asset rationalization overall can help address that risk. Is that a fair assessment?
That is, and that's try to or mention that earlier in the conversation, is that is a really key component of the risk mitigation here, is that we're constantly reviewing our assets and we're actively taking steps to divest of buildings that may not be aligned with municipal priorities, and also are nearing the stage where they would require significant costs. And so that is something that we need to do, but we will also mitigate this to a large degree by making sure that we have necessary operating dollars assigned to this building. So we're not constantly adding on different assets and then not being able to maintain them, because then you can't do the preventative maintenance that's required.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's one of the strengths as well, just having the funded surface package coming forward. That's a huge way to mitigate that risk longer term. And again, I think, in addition to really appreciating the specifics for this site, I think this template, all the ways that you're approaching this, I think are very positive and great models to build on moving forward. I'm probably not going to be here to speak to it at the end, but just wanted to say again, this has my full support. I think it's been very well done, and really appreciate our partners at the Citadel for what you've put into this. I think it's a great opportunity for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Tang.
Great. Just a couple final questions. So the 1.36 million, that includes the renewal estimate at 375K and 3 FTE.
The 1.35 million is separate from the capital request at 375,000.
Okay, I see. Because I was just curious, what that.
It does include the FTEs that were noted and the necessary maintenance equipment and everything else that's required, like the combined value of those two.
And it includes some of the existing resource that we could look at or deploy or redeploy.
The other thing I would mention is that we will continue to refine that number. So that is our high level estimate around that right now. And so come the fall, we will have a revised number when that funded service package comes forward.
Okay, that's helpful. I was thinking this feels like an overestimation, but that's good to know that's on the higher end. And then I guess the last thing I was just curious, I think it's been obviously brought up, and so essentially you're gonna, this being added to our inventory, we have our own prioritization framework to say where do we need maintenance, renewal, where do we need fixing. If Citadel remained ownership, any fixture becomes priority because they're the sole owner, whereas for us, it falls into this long line up of items. I didn't get a chance to ask the delegation, but that was discussed, and there's awareness of that. That's the risk that you're taking on, and people are okay with it. People are okay with that?
It was absolutely discussed.
Okay.
So Citadel is keenly aware of that. We've had that conversation a few times because that is how it would flow within the city. Once it becomes a city asset, now we have to go through our own prioritization efforts. Having that capital contribution helps to a certain degree where you have some resources that you could use towards certain issues that may arise with the building. But otherwise, it for sure falls through the standard process that we're dealing with all other
I think I'm just worried about something major, maybe unexpected, and you will go despite the reserve, you will still have to go through kind of what is set out in the policy now with all of our inventory, right? And how do we mitigate that risk?
And I believe some of our other team members are online to answer that as well, but with emergencies, obviously that is taken into consideration when they are prioritized. So if it is an emergency, it would affect where they're prioritizing that work.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you for, yeah, because I just want to know you've had that conversation. There's comfort. I recognize everyone is taking on a little bit more risk, but this feels like the best outcome for everyone. I have to go too, won't be able to speak to this. Thank you for all the work on this, and very supportive as well.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. So I'm not seeing anyone else to ask questions on the board, and I know some folks have to leave, but is there anyone who would like to move the
I'm sorry,
recommendation?
did Councillor Jans want to go into private?
Oh, Councillor Jans, are you still interested in going into private?
Briefly, if possible.
Would you like to move that?
So moved.
And that's subject to sections 24 and 27 of the FOIP Act. Please vote.
We are just waiting on one vote. Councillor Hamilton, are you there?
Yes, it's not popping up for me. Yes, thank you.
Apologies. Thank you so much. We have all the votes.
Display the vote. That's carried.
We are good to go.
Thank you.
I'll put the motion on the table or on the floor if no one else is going to do it.
Sure, that would be great, Councillor Hamilton.
Okay, I'll move the recommendation that this go to council for approval. I can read that in. That Executive Committee recommends to City Council that the lease agreement between the City of Edmonton and the Citadel Theatre, as outlined in Attachment 1, be approved, and that the lease agreement be in a form and content acceptable to the City Manager. And 2, that administration prepare a funded service package for consideration by Council during the 2024 fall supplemental operating budget adjustment to increase funding to support the City's ongoing repair and maintenance obligations for the Citadel Theatre as outlined in the May 3rd Financial Corporate Services Report.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. So we have a recommendation on the floor. I just have one final question that I wanted to follow up on, and that is around what the mayor was asking earlier around Bill 18. Wondering if legal has an answer to that and can share.
Yes, I do. So the mayor had asked the question whether the new provincial legislation, which requires the municipality or the city to get provincial approval for any agreements, would apply to a grant funding agreement between the city and the federal government, and I can confirm it would apply, so we would need provincial approval. However, if the Citadel were to enter into a funding agreement with the federal government, no provincial approval would be required.
Okay, well, I appreciate that clarity. And just to follow up on that then, so my understanding is that, hearing from the Citadel folks earlier, that there is still a desire to continue applying for those grant dollars from the federal government. So wouldn't affect that, but would affect the city's ability to pursue those dollars.
That is correct, yes.
Great. Well, thank you for that, and of course remain concerned around Bill 18 and the implications that would have for our ability as a city to continue delivering value for Edmontonians and minimizing costs as well when it comes to these types of projects. That's it from me, but I see Councillor Wright on the board.
Yes, Mayor, so he said it might be possible to bring back, from the Citadel to answer some questions, and I'm just wondering what type of funding they have, what sort of grants have they applied for in the past few years, federal, provincial, and just sort of get their take on whether those grants they would still be applying for them in the future.
I don't know those offhand, just in its entirety, but to maybe the city clerks, if we're able to add an individual from the Citadel to speak to that, is that possible to the delegation?
It is possible with the consent of the Assembly, yes.
Does anyone have any issue with that? I don't think so. So yeah, please, if we can invite someone down to join the delegation. Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
Thank you. So yeah, so I guess there is some concern as far as what Bill 18 would do as far as accessing the federal grants. What sort of federal grants have you applied for in the past, and do you expect to apply for them again? And yeah, we'll go from there.
Sure, thank you for the question. Citadel Theatre traditionally applies for the Canada Cultural Infrastructure funding through Canadian Heritage. They are aware of the capital plan investment from the Government of Alberta and are interested and excited about some of the accessibility projects we have coming up. That is the one that we predominantly access, in addition to the variety of opportunities that might come up through the province or municipally. But we have, in my time at Citadel as the grant writer, put our focus in the CCIF.
Oh, good. We have the grant writer here. Excellent. Okay. But would you still qualify for those with the city owning the building?
So with the Canadian Heritage Infrastructure Funds, with the way the current programs are set out, anybody that is a nonprofit can apply for these, for their venues, as long as they have a commitment to the lease to the landlord. And so we've already been having to include a letter from the city as part of our applications, at least since I've been there. And so that doesn't necessarily shift moving forward unless the program changes. So I feel confident in the relationship that we have with Canadian Heritage, and being able to access that funding still, and to be able to bolster any sort of potential projects with the city.
Okay, and is there any sort of provincial funding that's similar to that, or is there a matching part to the heritage grant?
So the heritage grants do tend to be a 50% matching. I believe, but the provincial grants I'm less familiar with in my time at Citadel.
Okay, so you said 50% matching with who? Who has to match it? The province or the city?
The Citadel.
The Citadel,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay.
It just allows, like, we are able to leverage certain funds that we are able to get. And so with, say, the capital plan funding that we have from the government of Alberta, we're able to leverage that with the Canadian Heritage Ask.
Okay, so the money, the 4 million that you got from the province, you were...
At a certain scale, yes,
okay,
for sure.
Okay. And that's the only one then?
That's the one that we most often are able to utilize in terms of being able to look at other infrastructure funds through the Government of Canada or the Province of Alberta. We have not done in my time there.
Okay, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. So I'm not seeing anyone else on for questions, so anyone to speak to this item? I'll add myself to the board. And maybe I'll start. Yeah, so just wanted to take a few moments to thank administration and the Citadel for working collaboratively over the last year or so to negotiate this lease. I think it does strike a good balance between the needs of both parties and really supports and strength and plays to the strengths of each party while delivering value for Edmontonians. I think it's been said many, many times throughout this conversation, but the Citadel is absolutely a critical and long-standing partner for the City of Edmonton that is helping us fulfill our commitment to supporting Edmonton's arts and cultural industries. And I think that this lease builds on that and demonstrates our continued commitment to growing and enabling Edmonton's performing arts ecosystem to flourish. So I am supportive of moving forward with the proposed agreement. Also just wanted to highlight and underscore that I am very aware of and continue to be concerned about the city's renewal shortfall. Our $470 million annual renewal funding shortfall weighs very heavily on me in this role. And I continue to believe that we need to get to a place where we have a dedicated renewal fund or levy to ensure that the facilities and assets that Edmontonians rely on and expect can continue delivering value for years to come, and that we're closing that renewal gap in a concerted way. That being said, I think that this lease agreement is the best possible way forward that does minimize cost while allowing the Citadel to continue delivering its excellent programming and performances. This is a major piece of civic infrastructure in our downtown that adds vibrancy and liveliness to our core. Edmonton has such a rich performing arts ecosystem, and the Citadel has been an essential part of that, and essential for establishing Edmonton's international reputation as well, as a place where arts can thrive. So I really appreciate the conversation today and look forward to seeing this up at Council. Thanks so much. And I will go to Councillor Jans.
Yeah, just very quickly to say I'll support this as well. I think the trepidation around our deferred maintenance and just the aging infrastructure in our city is real, and I think it's important that we and future councils keep a keen line of sight on that. But this is what it means to live in the city. This is what it means to live in a vibrant community. This is the value of our tax dollars at work, that we can invest in partnership and in public infrastructure that does enrich the lives, enrich the economy, enrich our minds. I think of some of the most beautiful plays I've seen at the Citadel. And just recently I learned about, and I'm going to get it wrong because I didn't write it down, but I believe it's 3 Citadel plays that have been incubated in Edmonton that are now on Broadway in New York. It could be 4 or 3. I can't tell by the show. 4. 3. Okay, yeah, like that's huge. That's putting Edmonton on the global map, and that's really exciting. So there's so many Edmontonians who live, work, and enjoy the arts, and this is just as important as infrastructure investments in golf courses or triathlons or anything else. We need to make sure that we're a well-rounded city, and I think the security and the predictability that this lease will provide will ensure that this can continue for the next century to come. So thank you everyone for your patience and indulging this rich conversation today.
Thank you, Councillor Jans. Councillor Hamilton, would you like to close?
I don't have, yeah, sure, but I don't have a lot to say. I think everybody, I think, articulated the value the Citadel brings to the community, and that I think the baseline questions on, is this the best deal, or the best lease agreement that we could get out of it? I think those questions have been satisfied. I think my colleagues brought a lot of really good questions and comments today. So much so that I think you scooped every single question that I had. So thank you everyone for your participation in this discussion. The one thing that's left dangling after this, I will say, is the question of how might this, what other sort of agreements are on the horizon that might have some exposure for us. So that's not pertaining to the Citadel. Don't worry, folks, you don't have to answer any questions about that. But I think something that we might endeavor to ask as a council, and maybe this would be a really good subsequent motion, is what other agreements do we have to take over infrastructure that would come back to us at some point. I'll say in the next in the next 10 to 15 years, that this council or the next council may wish to be apprised of, to understand what might be coming at us down the line. So, but that's not for this discussion. Look forward to this at council, but I hope it doesn't merit much more conversation, because I think this everyone would like to see this get done and dusted. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the vote. That is carried unanimously. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And that'll now be going up to City Council. And thank you for being with us today. Really appreciate it. All right. So the next item that we have on our agenda was selected by Mayor Sohi, 7.2. Actually, both of them were 7.2 and 7.3. And I'm just going to look to colleagues to see if anyone else has questions on those items. Otherwise, we may break early and pause until after lunch, so that he can be here to ask those questions. Councillor Wright.
No questions.
Councillor Hamilton, any questions on those items?
No.
No. Okay, so I might just look to the clerk then. Is it okay if we recess early?
Yes.
And then come back 1:30?
That's completely fine.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that?
No, you don't. You just declare and recess, and we will come back at 1:30.
Alrighty. Okay, well, we will pause early and come back at 1:30 to item 7.2. Thank you so much, everyone.